someone really wanted to study this, they said, Andy, what should I study? What should I learn? I would study risk. I would study two types of risk. The first type of risk we would call something you could diversify out of. I'll give you an example. British Petroleum, their stock symbol's BP. Well, it's supposed to be British Petroleum. Some people call it broken pipe because they had, you might remember, they broke a pipe in the Gulf and big environmental problem. Their stock was cut in half. Well, if you were diversified and you only had a few shares, you'd be okay. And so that's what they scream in the 401k. Don't be a stock picker, my word. Diversify, the opposite of Warren Buffett's advice. Diversify, diversify, diversify. What they will not tell you, and I challenge anyone with a 401k to ask their financial advisor this, how are you dealing then with systemic risk? Now, what is that? If the whole system begins to fall, if the whole system, like in the dot-com boom of 2000 and the bust, and then the subprime meltdown of '08, both of those cut the market in half. So what are you doing in a 401k to manage those risks? There's a correlation between risk and control. More control you have, less risk. Less control you have, more risk. No control, it's gambling.
Right.
And if you retire after one of these crashes, you're selling off so many shares at a discount. And so instead of buying at a discount, you're selling at a vast discount. It can crush people in retirement, especially if you only have $70,000 in there in the first place.
So to a large extent, you're relying on luck because nobody knows when these cycles exactly are going to happen. So you're hoping, or it's, am I lucky or unlucky? Was the market up or down when I needed to sell?
Yeah.
Also, if the 401k account it's held for your benefit. It's not really your account, right? So how does that work? Because I see the FBO, by 401k. It's like, so if the government needed for some reason under emergency circumstances to grab that money, they could?
Well, I don't know it would be the government, but I'll tell you where you're right on key is people say, well, I have this much money in my 401k. No, you don't. This money belongs to Wall Street. They're the ones that collect the fees on it. They're the ones that get to use it. They're the ones that get to invest it as they please and as they see fit. If you think they're just sitting on this, let's think again. They're collecting fees. But if you really think this is your money, try to go get it.
Yeah.
If you think this money belongs to you, try to go get it. Because what you'll find is if you want to get this before you're 59 and a half, they're going to charge you 10%.
Right.
So if you have to pay to get something back, it's obviously not yours, is it?
Right. Pay 10% plus taxes.
Plus your taxes. Yeah. And taxes are an interesting thing too, because, people will, they'll get after, it was really funny watching the elections, and I'm not political one way or the other. I just kind of sit back and shrug my shoulders. But there's always pressure on candidates to release their taxes, to say, how much did you pay? How much did you pay?
Right.
And the reason many candidates don't is because they don't pay any taxes.
Right.
They're investors.
Right.
A guy like Mitt Romney or a guy like Donald Trump, they're not going to release their taxes. Why? Because they don't pay any. They're investors.
Right.
In fact, let's say that an investor gets capital gains in the past, which used to be around 15 to 20%, rather than the 40 to 60 that doctors and dentists can be paying if they really count everything.
Right.
Well, if I'm a doctor or a dentist, and I have my account and I see I'm paying 40, 50, 60% taxes, I see these investors paying 15%. I say, what gives? Well, they say, look, a guy like Trump and Romney are investing. They're taking more risk than you are. And so they're going to get lower tax rates. Guess what? If you put money in a 401k, you're dodging ordinary income tax. Well, when you pull it out, guess what you're going to pay? Ordinary income tax. So you're taking investor risk, but you're not getting investor tax benefit. You're getting employee tax benefit, even though you're taking investor risk.
Well, now, so let's talk to that group, the engineer, the doctor, the lawyer, what have you, the professional that probably has been funding a 401k their whole career. Now they're 50-ish, on the sheet, that you just read. And, but maybe they're in the higher percentage of what they've accumulated, but they're looking saying, wow, this didn't work out the way I thought it would. And I'm subject to having to, being forced to take this money out in the future, or maybe I even need to take some out now. And it's not all there.
Yeah.
So what kind of investing advice do you give them? They maybe have some money, so it's not like they got zero, but they don't have enough to retire. and they don't want to keep working another 20 or 30 years doing the stuff they're doing today. So what's the advice?
Well, first of all, I never tell anyone what to do with their money. I always stay away from advice because I know something, and this is very important. Education is more valuable than advice. The advantage the doctor, the dentist, the engineer have is you're smart people. You know, in 4 years, you learned how to do a root canal that I could never learn how to do.
Right.
In much, much less time, you can get educated on these investments. Let me say this. Risk, in my view, is more a function of the investor than the investment. People say, what do you think about gold? I'll say, well, how much do you know about gold? What do you think about real estate? Well, how much do you know about real estate?
Right.
My advice to those guys who see the writing on the wall, they pull out their statement after what we've talked about, and they say, you know what? I'm not going to make it. I'm going to run this 20-year marathon, and they're going to extend that finish line out another 20 years.
Right.
I'm going to be having patience. I'm going to be taking orders. I'm going to be at this desk for, in my 80s at this rate.
Right.
What do I do? Smartest thing you can do is get educated about being an investor rather than an employee. Look, if you want to make money as a dentist, go to dental school.
Right.
If you want to make money as an investor, go to investor school. And there's no shortage of information to learn how to do these things. I love real estate. I love entrepreneurship. And I love the stock market actually for people that understand it.
Right.
The problem with the stock market is not investing in stocks. It's investing in stocks with no education.
Right.